This is Joe Costello's WFO Radio Ignition, covering everything that has wheels, an engine, and a driver.
The reason I race is to get the chicks. You know what I mean?
NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One, sports cars, and NHRA drag racing.
Hey guys, just want to let you know, WFO rocks.
WFO Radio is total motorsports.
It's just so cool.
Fasten your seatbelts, fire up the ignition, and drop the hammer.
Yeah, let's do it.
Now, here's your host, Joe Costello.
WFO, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ignition, the start of a new week here on WFO. If you're a new listener, a first-time listener, welcome to the podcast. We think you'll like it. It's that kind of thing, you know. We think you'll like it. You got to stick around. We're not doing this for our own entertainment, let me tell you. No, actually, we are. Giovanni in Miami, welcome. How are you?
All is well.
All is well. That's wonderful. All is well. Is all well? Or is that just something you say? I find myself saying that all the time. Somebody asked me the other day, like, hey, how's it going? I was like, oh, great stuff. Never better. And then I thought about it. I was like, that's not true.
Yeah, no, that's just, some old mad dog rubbing off and
Just
things
something-
are just peachy keen.
Yes, exactly.
You know? Something about misery-loving company
Does
and people
anybody-
delighting in the misery of others.
Do
So
they
screw them.
really want
I'm
to
great.
hear how I am? I don't think they do.
I don't think they do.
Hey, man, how you doing? Oh, actually really kind of terrible right now.
And then when you hit them with this, that, and the other, they're like, whoa, shut up, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear
No,
all
well,
this.
you asked how I was doing, and now I'm telling
I
you.
was just trying to be nice. Conversation started.
Well, you don't like the conversation that happened, and now you're trying to back out of it.
Right.
So that's it. That's it. So we've got a lot to get into. Brad Kay wins 3 in a row. Giovanni just dropped an interesting stat. For the first time ever in the NASCAR history, 3 different drivers have won 3 in a row in the same season.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's a big stat. We'll get into that. Brad Kay winning the Crash Fest in Vegas. Richmond is next. I thought it was a very entertaining race. I was home to watch it.
How about that?
I got to enjoy that. I got to enjoy Formula One. I got to enjoy.
Really enjoy. That was enjoyment for you because I didn't enjoy it at all.
No, it was not really enjoyable.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah. What are you going to do? We got doors blown off. That was just, bad race, bad strategy as far as Ferrari goes. If you're a Lewis Hamilton fan, you loved it because it was total domination, epic. And Lewis extends his lead to 40 points in the Drivers' Championship. Haas F1, Roman Grosjean got a penalty, got points on his license, the whole thing. It wasn't the best race, but boy, is that place cool, though. Singapore.
The night race is great.
The night race, seeing the cars under the lights in general, just how bright everything looks. And I'm looking at those people, and I can't help but think, who are these people in Singapore? Who lives in Singapore?
Singaporeese?
Well, but, are these native Singaporeese? Or are these transplants from far-off lands? Why are they there? What's going on in Singapore? And it's only what did they say? What were the stats? One of 3 principalities in the world: Monaco, Singapore, and the Vatican. Something like that. Saw a couple of notes about it.
Yeah.
So I found it to be kind of interesting. So you didn't watch. You didn't watch.
I did watch. I guess I wasn't listening well enough.
They try to give you a historical note, but I didn't listen too well either. Obviously, otherwise I would have had it nailed.
I know they're way down there geographically on the bottom of Malaysia, at the tip of Malaysia.
Sure, it rains.
But like you said, I was not aware that they were its own municipality, kind of like Monaco. I do know about Monaco.
Yes. Just one of those stats they dropped on us during the race, and I thought it was pretty cool. Interesting stuff. And then IndyCar. Scott Dixon wins an unprecedented 5th IndyCar championship.
Increíble.
Ryan Hunter-Ray won the race. Dixon basically just kind of ran second all day long. Alexander Rossi, who was in the title hunt, ruined his chances on the first lap. And then the coverage...
He thought he was racing for Force India.
I guess.
And bumping with teammates.
Oh, how about those two? They're reinstating team orders over there.
What choice do they have?
What choice do they have? They just keep hitting each other over and over and over again. It was great stuff. And in the NHRA, J.R. Todd wins the first race of the playoffs, goes back-to-back after winning Indy, and wins Maple Grove. In Top Fuel, it was Steve Torrence. Steve Torrence will hopefully be on NHRA Nitro, as well as J.R. Todd, and starts going right where he should, to go on and win a championship after a couple of years. In Pro Stock, it was Vincent Nobile. Vincent coming out of the box with a win. And Hector Arana Jr., his brother-in-law, in Pro Stock Motorcycles. So all kinds of cool stuff in Maple Grove, from Maple Grove. We had all kinds of WFO radio listeners out there. They were all out there, and they had a great time out there. I watched on NHRA All Access. It was good stuff. Good stuff. Thank God for that. Otherwise, oh my goodness. And so we will get into all of these things, including the Fantasy League. And I had a moment of panic. Like, did I set my fantasy team? And I don't think I did, but I'm not exactly sure. I do not know. So we'll have to get into all of that. Not to mention the Sports Collision, the show within a show that everybody loves so much. One of the favorite aspects of the Ignition program, the show within a show that is the Sports Collision. The Miami Dolphins have won the first 2 games of the season. And right before our little program here, Paulie the white guy calls in just to antagonize. What was it? It's like a vile hatred of Ryan Tannehill. And see, that kind of thing I find to be, like, I don't get that. Like, that is where I depart from the sports fan. You got a player on your team, and he's doing the best he can, and he's not, he's clearly not going out on the field to deliberately submarine the team. He's not going out there to try and fail. He puts on the helmet. He's trying to do as good as he can, and he is better than many other players. He's better than many. He's definitely, above the mean of quarterbacks in the league. If he became a free agent, he would get paid. And the word, vile hatred. I hate him. What has he ever done to be hated? Hatred. That's how people are, though.
Well, that's the whole point. He really hasn't done anything. And that's why he's hated.
He's hated. It's not like this team has been good enough to do anything anyway. It's had all kinds of records. Since Marino this and since Marino that, he throws for a lot of yards. They don't score. Meanwhile, this guy was like one of the most sacked quarterbacks in every year he's been in the league. Every year. But that's the thing about sports. It doesn't matter. You're allowed to hate the person and their family. Like their children. I hate them too. He's got kids. I hate them. They're the worst.
I'm going to eat his children.
I'm going to eat his children. What was that, Mike Tyson?
Yeah.
Whose children?
Holyfield.
He was going to eat Holyfield's children?
I think so.
Because he did eat Holyfield's ear.
Yeah, no, that was previously.
And now you see Mike, and Mike is like a totally different guy.
He's like, yeah.
He's like a nice man.
He's like a movie star now.
He's like a nice man. I'm a nice man, which is good stuff.
Well, the voice has got something to do with it, too,
Yeah? Yeah, Tyson. Iron Mike.
Yeah.
I like to watch the Saturday night boxing on HBO and the Showtime. I've been getting into that. I know boxing. People say it's dead.
Did you get the big fight this weekend?
No. Did you get the big fight this weekend?
No, I would never pay for a fight.
Was there a big fight this weekend? I don't know. Big fight. Why are you telling me about a big fight now? Why didn't you tell me last week during Sports Collision?
Well, because it already happened. And so now we could talk about what happened. We're not in the business of predicting things right here.
You could have told me there was going to be a big fight.
We talk about things that are going to happen.
You could have said the big fight is about to happen.
We talk about things that happen, then we analyze these things. We don't talk about pontification and predictions and thinking about what's going to happen.
You're dodging the whole thing. The reason we didn't get to it is because the whole Northern and the Carolinas were the bullseye of a massive hurricane
did they get showered
when
on.
we last convened. And we need to stop immediately and say hello to our friends and family members and listeners in that region. Hopefully, they are doing well. They have come through it with little to no damage and no emotional scars. It's tough. That storm just parked on top of them and just dropped rain and rain and rain. And everybody says that that's very devastating and terrible. We saw what happened down in Houston. A very similar situation. I guess it was Harvey stopped down there and just parked right on top of them and rained on them. Now, That having been said, watching the coverage, if I could choose, I would choose that over 150-mile-per-hour winds.
Yes, but to be fair, we do live in a different topography, so to speak, where the water here, while it can become an issue, it does tend to drain fairly well. Whereas some of these places, Nolens, below sea level, Houston has their own issues with flooding consistently. Carolinas, the mountains, and everything on the top of the mountains ends up on the bottom, and everything on the bottom ends up getting flooded out. And so for us, a lot of rain, while yes, it could be a problem, it's not a devastating factor as much as sustained winds of over 100 mile an hour are.
I think that wherever you go, if you get the category 4 or 5 winds, you're devastated. And that's the whole thing about it. Fortunately, that deal slowed down. Florence slowed down right before it got to them, and then it stopped on top of them. And the rain is terrible, but like mass destruction appears to have been avoided from the coverage and the footage that I have seen.
Well, absolutely. A storm of that size and magnitude at the speed of the wind shear that it was coming barreling towards the Carolinas could have been a very devastating experience.
Oh, yeah, because they're not built to withstand it. We're built, at least, with hurricane codes. I don't know what kind of codes they
not
have.
Not that I honestly believe that we could withstand that kind of stuff that's been barreling down in the last few years.
Been barreling down.
Well, that thing that was headed towards us last year, and we got lucky and it just skewed left.
Oh, well, that was a Category 5.
Right, the same thing. And this big monster headed towards these guys that luckily at the end it started slowing down in terms of speed.
It was Cat 4 and then Cat 3 and hit him
that
as
thing
a Cat
was
2.
moving along at 3 miles an hour, which is like standing still practically.
Yes.
And it just showered all over them for 2 straight days.
Heard lots of water.
To quote a couple of people I was in contact with in the Carolinas, they are drying out.
That's good. Well, that's the thing. But they're like the folks down who did the Harvey deal in the Houston area. This is where a lot of the problems do begin, though, because there is mold problems. If it gets in your house, the water, you can't get all dried out. Mold grows. You have to drywall your homes. There's a lot of work that ends up happening.
Oh, no. If your house got in any form of underwater more than, ankle high, that's severe damage that essentially is.
You have to call ServPro.
Yeah, whomever you need to call.
So our thoughts are going out to you guys. We are thinking about you over the course of the weekend, watching. And apparently, I've been getting a text of video footage, the people out there like, oh, my gosh, the wind is blowing. And what's the story with that? 2 guys are walking on the set of a video where the guy is like in 100-mile-an-hour winds, except there's no wind. Is it fake?
Look, I don't know that it's fake.
Fake?
I honestly don't know the origins of
we wouldn't know
video,
about it if it was real.
But I have seen the video that you're speaking of where it appears that there's a reporter pretending to barely be standing there with angling himself, trying to, as wind would be pushing him, and he's fighting the wind. And then in the background, you see like a couple just walking by casually.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I have seen that someone said that was on Weather Channel. Now I don't believe that was really a Weather Channel thing, but I didn't actually see it on the Weather Channel. I don't know if that's.
Do we believe Deadline Hollywood? Is that a real news site? Is it fake news?
I have no idea.
When Hurricane Florence made landfall in North Carolina. No, it says Caroline.
Well, then they are not very credible if that's as good as their editing goes. So they're out.
Weather Channel reporter Mike Seidel was out in the storm reporting live as he struggled to maintain his balance against the high wind. Seidel says this is about as nasty as it's been. Meanwhile, 2 men can be seen in the background strolling casually with no effort in the rain. The video has since gone viral, and Seidel is being accused of exaggerating. The Weather Channel made a statement to the Washington Post in regards to the video, which can be watched below, saying it's important to note that the two individuals in the background are walking on concrete, and Mike Seidel is trying to maintain his footing on wet grass. After reporting on air at around 1 a.m., does that make a difference this morning? And is undoubtedly exhausted. And so here's the video. Let's see.
Okay, picking it up here in Wilmington, North Carolina, right at the Intracoastal, and we're in one of these bands. This is about as nasty as it's been. We had some bands like this last night.
No, it's just horrible. It's horrible.
It
That's
really
terrible.
is.
Raucous night at the hotel.
He's doing a dance. He's doing a dance, and they're just walking by. They might as well be going to the park to shoot some hoop. That's what they look like. That is just terrible. Ugh. So to all our friends out there in the Carolinas and the York family and all our great friends in that part of the country, Bobby Bennett from Competition Plus and others, hopefully they are all well. And that is it. Because we're going to be heading that way. I mean, in theory, not in a few weeks. Not that long. All right, let's get into the results. The inaugural South Point 400 from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, a crash fest. I found it to be very exciting. I thought it was great. Everybody pretty much wrecked out. Brad Keselowski wins the race, his third race in a row, his first win in the first win of the playoffs.
Blocking the spot.
He advanced to the next round and gets the job done. Kyle Larson second, Martin Truex Jr. Coming home with a strong third. It was a great battle right towards the end. Some late race cautions factoring in. Let's hear what Brad Kay has to say about the 500th win in Penske and winning a playoff race.
Winning is more than being the fastest. Winning is about being the best in all facets and taking advantage of opportunities. We probably weren't the best today with respect to being the fastest car, but my team was the best today with respect to executing on the pit stops, putting us in a position to control the race, and then getting through the chaos that I think you guys all saw over the last 20 or 30 laps. To this date in the season, or to date before these three races in the season, we hadn't been able to do that. I don't know if I necessarily think we're any faster than we have been the rest of the season, as much as I would say we're finding ourselves taking advantage of opportunities at a much higher level. And with that in mind, that's what great teams do. And I'm so thrilled to death to see this team do that here over these last few weeks, because I can tell you that today, last week, and the week before, we weren't good enough to just dominate a race. It took a total team effort. And that's what our guys delivered here today to win in Las Vegas.
I like Brad Kay. Everybody knows, like every time we play Brad Kay, I end up going, I like Brad Kay. But I do. I like the dude. I like his attitude. I think we need more. We need more of him. Good job, Brad Kay. And the captain, Roger Penske. Chip Ganassi winning an IndyCar. And great stuff. Kyle Larson coming home second. Martin Truex Jr. third. Joy fourth. Joy ran real well. That restart with Joy and Brad right before what turned out to be the final caution, that was pretty hot and heavy racing. And what I watched was very entertaining. And most people know that I'm working on Sunday whenever there is a conflict race. This week I was able to watch and enjoy the NASCAR. And if this was the first NASCAR race you ever watched, if you hadn't watched for a long time, what was wrong with that? That was fine. It was entertaining. The battles, the wheel-to-wheel, the side-by-side, the down on the apron, I found it to be very entertaining. Like the battling and the passing, there was enough. It was enough to entertain me. And I enjoyed it. But that Brad Kay diving down into the corner with Joey on the outside, and it was just crazy. And you could hear Dale Jr., and you could hear Jeff Burton, and you could hear everybody talk about like it was an insanity move. The problem is they never went back and gave us a replay and showed it and gave us insight into why. But they were both blown away. Like, I can't believe he just did that. I can't believe what I just saw, which was kind of cool. Ryan Blaney, 5th. Eric Almirola, 6th. Kyle Busch, 7th. Daniel Suarez, 8th. 9th, Ryan Newman, who is leaving Richard Childress Racing, and he has announced it on Twitter. That's it. He's done with RCR. Is he done permanently? Is he going somewhere else? Where's he going? Maybe he's going to go over and take Kurt Busch's ride, which is kind of where he came from. Paul Menard, 10th. Austin Dillon, 11th. Regan Smith, 12th. Ryan Newman?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. We saw Gene Haas just mention that they don't have anybody lined up for the 41 car yet.
Right.
That if somebody's coming and bringing sponsorship, they might be able to listen.
They're talking to
But they're
Daniel
definitely
Suarez.
not going to put the car away because of the contingency stuff where next year a lot of stuff is based on where you finished this year.
Yes.
And prize money and stuff like that, so that they are not going to just sit the car out, that someone will ride the car even if it's part-time.
Interesting. It's crazy. Is there a driver shortage? Do we have a driver shortage?
No, I think it's a monetary shortage, not driver shortage.
Monetary shortage? Kind of interesting. Paul Menard, 10th. Austin Dillon, 11th. Regan Smith, 12th. Trevor Bayne, 13th. A.J. Allmendinger, 14th. Chris Buescher, 15th. Corey LaJoie, 16th. J.J. Yaley, 17th. J.J. Yaley, top 20. Landon Castle, 18th. Bowman the Showman, 19th. And Ross Chastain, 20th. Everybody else, ready for some big names? Here we go. Kurt Busch. Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy was looking real good, crashed out late in the going. Kurt was involved in that same deal. Finished 4th in the first stage, finished 2nd in the second stage. Jimmy Johnson finished 4th in the second stage, was looking good. Boom, crashed out. Clint Bowyer crashed out. Matt DiBenedetto, Jeffrey Earnhardt, Kyle Weatherman. Tell me about Kyle Weatherman, Gio.
Oh, he was great in, like, Rocky and in Predator, and even better when he got together with, like, Sam, with what's his name, with Adam Sandler, and he did, like, the bowling movie.
That's Carl Weathers.
That's not Carl Weathers?
No, Kyle Weatherman. But that was a good attempt. Good job.
Oh, well, then I don't know who the hell you're talking about.
David Reagan, 27th. 28th, B.J. McLeod. Michael McDowell, 29th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 30th. Then Reed Sorensen, Denny Hamlin, Timmy, Ty Dillon, Jamie McMurray, Chase Elliott involved in a big crash. Hurt his shoulder, popped out, popped back in, was in pain. Lord Byron, Bubba Wallace, Kevin Harvick, who said that the tires were crappy. And Eric Jones, rounding out the field.
I did notice, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong with it, the top 7 were for playoff drivers, to not say chase drivers any longer.
Yeah.
And then the other half of the field was just all over the place, mostly 20th on down.
Oh, no, it was a huge day with massive implications in the standings. And the points leader continues to be Martin Truex Jr., or is Martin Truex Jr., over Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski.
I don't know about all. I guess, does that even matter? Like, the reality is that Brad K advances, and it doesn't really matter that Truex Jr.
Well, it matters because he can advance on points. But, yeah, I guess you're right. That Brad K advances, that's all that matters. Martin Truex, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Kurt Busch, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, Clint Bowyer, and Alex Bowman would be the 12 that advanced if it ended today, but it's not. On the outside, Jimmy Johnson, Chase Elliott, Eric Jones, and Denny Hamlin are fighting for their lives, and that is it.
And one thing, it does show you that those regular season playoff points are very important, as Kevin Harvick had a horrific day, and what did he finish, 40th or 39th?
Yep.
And he's still theoretically tied for first with Brad K, with Kyle Busch in playoff points.
Yes.
So it's just one of those things. And this is the one part of the whole NASCAR thing that even someone as myself who follows very, very much, the whole, regular points and playoff points, and I find that a little too much confusing. Just like you said, the actual points leader is Martin Truex, although Brad K has advanced. And technically, Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch have the most playoff points.
Yes.
So it's, like what are we really paying attention to here?
What are we paying attention to?
As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter till the final
No, but
four.
It doesn't matter. Being the points leader is never bad. It's good. It means you're still the best guy. overall, and having advanced is really good too. That's very significant.
Well, I think that's the most important.
Yes, you have advanced, but Truex will advance too. Like, he's not going to plummet from that position out of the top 12. But it is interesting. But I like it. I still like it. You know, the discussion about there are fans that can't handle it, and I understand why, because of what we just did. And you know, you'd think we would know, like, the how to sort it. Well, yes, because the playoff points indicate these are, and of course, then the regular points, and then having advanced means that none of that matters for you until the next stage, etc. What mattered to me was I put on the race and I watched it, and I found the racing to be pretty good, battle, and enjoyable. That's what mattered most to me. And there you have it.
I thought the race was very entertaining.
Very entertaining. Very entertaining. Matt DiBenedetto not going to be back with his team next year. Just kind of a weird time. I said this years ago, I'll say it again. If I was NASCAR and if I was NHRA, I would put a moratorium on any announcements during the playoffs. Like, no silly season nonsense. Like, do it all before. Get it out of the way before. But no stories during the playoffs. Let's all only talk about the playoffs and focus on, okay, here we go. Brad Keselowski has now advanced to the next round through his own greatness after winning 3 in a row. And he's going to try to seize another championship, which is very difficult. And his team is peaking at absolutely the right time. There have been some other good drivers. There's been the big 3. And of the big 3, Martin Truex Jr. had the best race. Kyle Busch finishing 7th was kind of a miracle / lucky, sliding through the infield and smashing the front of his car, and just
he could
no
have
damage
slid through the infield and broken up his car like Denny Hamlin.
Right.
That was undrivable.
So it was just random luck, but he rallied back, and that's important. That's the kind of stuff that matters. And then Kevin Harvick of the big 3 had the worst day, blew a tire, hit the wall. And that's that. Is anyone up against it right now? Jimmy Johnson is coming around, and it's a race against time. There was a period in this race where Jimmy Johnson looked as if he could perhaps go on to be successful and win the race. And what ended up happening was he ended up in a crash. And so are they going to figure it out?
He's had some bad luck, but I would say that you just can't count this guy out.
You're now not allowed until he's out. Not allowed to until he's out. But right now I want to tell you about Audible.com, WFO Ignition. Had a lot of our listeners reach out and say some great things about the spot and the fact that we're doing the spot, and that the folks at Audible and the membership includes 1 free audiobook a month, exclusive sales, and 30% off all regularly priced audiobooks. Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more. They've got all kinds of great stuff from audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, etc. There's a free app for your iPhone or Android phone, Windows phone. You can download and listen on iOS, Android, Amazon Fire tablets, etc. And unlike a streaming or rental service, with Audible, you own your own books, which I think that is very, very cool. But one of our listeners reached out to me after having heard the commercial and was like, hey, man, I've heard Audible discussions in the past, and I think it is great. And he's going to use the audible.com/WFO Ignition, which is our tag if you're going to use that kind of stuff. But he's also indicating, he's like, hey, man, there's a lot of great books out there. And he produced a list for me to mention, which I think is fantastic. Thank you, Sean. The Limit. The Limit tells the enthralling story of Phil Hill, a lowly California mechanic who defied all expectations to become the first American-born driver to win the Grand Prix championship. Think about that, Phil Hill. for you racing fans out there. Or Driving Like Crazy, a 2009 book by P.J. O'Rourke. It's very fun stuff. And if you've ever, seen P.J. do his appearance, he's a kind of a sarcastic, but deep thinker. Go Like Hell, the story of the Ford GT40 program. These are available on audible.com/WFO Ignition. And so thanks to Sean for giving us some suggestions to promote to our audience. The one that I liked the most out of everything he sent in is Arsenal of Democracy. Detroit in World War II, arming the world. Not cars, but very cool stuff. Thank you, Sean. Audible.com/WFO Ignition. If you travel, if you're like on a plane or if you're driving over the road and the WFO podcast happens to be over, what is the next thing you're going to listen to? How about Audible.com/WFO Ignition? Head out there and pick up something. And thanks to the folks at Audible.com for jumping on board with WFO Radio. Very, very cool. Very much looking forward to it. Now, we do have other sponsors as well. And last week, we gave you some insight into all of our sponsors because it is important that we do this. But it's more important now than it's ever been. Super important right at the moment. Like Rodak's Coffee and Grills.com, Marvin Rodak. Hopefully, you're getting ready to call 817-924-6821 and order those holiday packs. Marvin was out at, North Star Dragway in Texas, acting as a crew member on an alcohol funny car. He's texting all kinds of cool stuff. There was even a match race between a jet dragster and a diesel dragster. Kind of cool. You want to know about it? Call Marvin, 817-924-6821. Holiday packs coming for the holidays. Samtech.edu, the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, for all the young folks out there who are looking what to do with their careers. Maybe they want to get involved in racing, become a high-performance engine builder. It's very possible. And the Samtech Factory Stock Showdown is going to be in St. Louis.
Woo!
Yeah. Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants.
Midwest.
I am hearing that the Hangstafers Antron Brown appearance went very well last week. Now, Hangstafers is top-notch in metalworking lubricants. When it comes to whatever you're doing in your shop, they help you do it quicker and faster, more efficiently, because their metalworking lubricants are the best in the business. Go to hangstafers.com and find out all kinds of information. They've been doing it since 1937. Products engineered to increase productivity. Hangstafers, metalworking lubricants. Motorsportsguys.com, formerly AmeliStore.com. Terry McMillan, U.S. Nationals winner. We're talking K&N Filters, All-Star Performance Racing, Amely Oil, and you can get a free hat. Just add it to your checkout, the Vegas Win Tribute hat, and use the promo code WFO, and the hat will be free. And your next oil change, why not get a little Amely? They got 2050, 1030, 520. Also, they got the 70 weight for the top field dragsters and such. Thinks it's something that you would be needing anyway, right?
Do it. Get it.
Aerospace Components, family owned and operated for over 30 years. Kim Cussy and her team, whether it be titanium brake rotors, the billet brakes, shifters, vacuum pumps. If you got a race car, hot rod, or street rod, you want it to stand out. Aerospace Components, the best stuff in the business. 724-347-9915. All of these people, believe it or not, and I know it is hard to believe, all stepping up to support WFO. Like Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School and the Dragster Adventure. That is one that is a great favorite of mine. Been with us for a long, long time. You want to send somebody in your family that you love on an amazing adventure. It's in the name. Dragster Adventure. And then catspotlitter.com. Scott Palmer. Scott Palmer got beaten by like thousandths of a second out in Maple Grove.
Stars racing.
Yeah, but man, this guy, how many races is he going to come out on the short end of the thousandth of a second race? How many races? It's just insanity. And HusseyPerformance.net, copper head gaskets. David Allen, great listener out there, even listens to the Ignition Show sometimes. 724-318-8292. Sean Bellemure gets another win out there in the Grove. They will make copper head gaskets for any application, absolutely custom-made, perfect stuff. And those are our fantastic sponsors. Now, one more thing I want to tell you about. Not a sponsor, but it's different. It's a different kind of thing. Also want to mention we got the folks at Drag Racing Edge Magazine. EV3 is still going. It's all still going. Big thanks to all these people. But our poker guys, all right? The Poker Guys sponsor is having an online tournament. The online tournament is to promote their new poker software that, you can play online, and they've got a whole series of things going on. There is a cash prize that has, from what I understand, been offered by the sponsor. If there is anyone in the WFO audience that is interested in playing for a $750 cash prize, it might be worth your while to go find the Poker Action Line show on SoundCloud or iTunes or PokerActionLineRadio.com. It's all over the place. Gio, where else can we find it? They have a Facebook page. You can go to the Facebook page and just click the link. It's called Poker Action Line.
PokerActionLine.com.
Go at Poker Action Line on Twitter. You can find them all. And here's why I'm telling you, okay? I'm telling you, are you guys a bunch of poker players? I don't know, but maybe you are. This thing is going to be happening, from what I understand,
Tuesday evening, tomorrow.
Tuesday. So if you're listening on Tuesday afternoon, it's happening tonight. If you're listening on Monday late night, early morning on Tuesday, it's happening on Tuesday at 8 o'clock. If you're listening on Wednesday, you've missed it. You've blown it. But it's $750 for first place, man.
$500 for second and $250 for third.
That's a pretty strong payout. So you got to go, you got to sign up with an email address, and, you create a login, and then you go to the tables. I would listen to the Poker Action Line show for all the details. It starts at 8 o'clock Tuesday night. So I would get logged in a little bit early and be ready to be playing poker. Those poker tournaments, Gio, how long do they go?
Well, in this particular tournament, it's only going to be a 3-hour max, unless someone wins prior to that. So you're not going to be at
that's
the World
fantastic.
Series overnight.
It's not going to be there till. That's one reason I can't be into poker at all, is because it goes on in perpetuity. I'm not into that. I played Monopoly with the Gray the other day, and I was very concerned. This is going to go on in perpetuity.
It does sometimes.
It can. Monopoly. And we are not having a Monopoly tournament for cash. But I digress. So if you are a poker player and you're interested in trying to play some poker and trying to win some money, 8 o'clock, Poker Action Line on Twitter, Poker Action Line on Facebook, Poker Action Line on iTunes, Poker Action Line on SoundCloud, Poker Action Line, one of our great clients here, and they help keep us going just as much as our sponsors. They're just in a different way. So there you go. Go try to win some money, and hopefully it all works out.
Do it.
There it is.
Get out there. Win the money. Send us our cut.
Oh, my gosh, yes. What's the cut? I think we should put that out from the very beginning. No vagueness about it.
No, just a regular vig,
So what, $75?
10% off the top.
There it is. That works. I think that's fair. Let's just dwell on that.
Nothing passes my hands unless I get 10%.
Got to wet the beak.
Way it works.
And there's $200 under my hat. All right. We're going to take a quick break here on WFO. We'll be back after this. Break down some Fantasy League, talk a little Formula One. Got SportsCollision later. We will not be making picks. It's too far away. After this.
This is WFO Radio.
Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School. Whether you're a bracket racer who wants to get better or a thrill seeker looking to cross it off your bucket list, Frank Hawley's Drag Racing School can put you on the right track. Don't believe me? Tell him, Frank.
No matter how little or how much experience you have, we've got a program for you. So if driving a dragster is on your bucket list, there's no better time than now. And if you'd like to be a pro, well, here's funny car champ, Jack Beckman. Hey, this is Jack Beckman. Long before I was Fast Jack, I was a bracket racer who went to the Frank Hawley School. The time I spent there was some of the most exciting, intense, and fulfilling moments ever in a race car. I feel the curriculum Frank developed greatly helped me win not only the Super Comp, but also the NHRA Nitro Funny Car Championship. Frank put me on the right track. What are you waiting for?
Call them at 866-480-7223. That's 866 480-7223 or visit frankhawley.com.
Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology. Accelerate your career as a high-performance engine builder with classroom instruction and practical hands-on experience in the lab, on the dyno, and at the track. In addition to the block, head, and CNC programs, SAM now offers motorsport, EFI tuning, and an Associates of Applied Science degree. And SAM is a military-friendly school, approved to train veterans and other eligible persons under the GI Bill. Start your education at full speed. Go to samtech.edu today.
CatSpotLitter.com. Got to check them out. And, of course, think about getting a cat. There's so many little kitties out there that need a home. They need a home. But it's the litter. No, now you've got CatSpotLitter.com. So check it out. Cat Spot Litter, new supporter of WFO Radio.
This is Sean from Traverse City, Michigan. You ever get done with an episode of Ignition or Nitro and say, man, that's a good job. I'd like to give them a pat on the back and a cold beer. Well, with Patreon, you can. So send that drink down to Gio and Joe.
Now, back to WFO Radio Ignition.
You know, last week's show I thought was very cool, and that's Sean who gave us the list of audiobooks that we should recommend that are all good stuff. It's like Sean's audiobook list, audible.com/WFO Ignition. And I think that's great. Like, this guy comes out of nowhere, finds the show, enjoys the show so much that not only is he recording a spot like so many others really should do. Like, I want to hear the Bobby Graham one. That's what I want to hear. Like, hey, this is Bobby Graham down in the bayou. Get on Patreon. I was looking at Bobby Graham today because I recorded something for the Patreons. Just like a little heads up. 3 minutes of just like, what's up, Patreons? How's everybody doing? Kind of thing. And it was good stuff. And how about Sean? And you can all do it, by the way. You can all do it. Just go to your phone. If you've got an iPhone, it's called Voice Memos. If you've got an Android, I think you might have to download like a recorder app. But record yourself saying something fun, man. Do it. We'll put it on the show. Why not? But I was thinking there's been something that's been bothering me all week, and I wanted to fix it with the audience. Last week's show I felt like was very entertaining, and I enjoyed it. We had Gary Corbett. We were talking about all that 70s stuff, cities in the 70s. And I had mentioned that I had watched The Deuce, and I had mentioned that I watched Saturday Night Fever, and I mentioned that I watch Invincible. We were talking about great East Coast cities. And then we focused in on New York. And I never said clearly, I had thought it many times, but in the flow of doing a show like this, an idea will come up and then we'll run with it. And next thing you know, you're down the road and you didn't get back to it. And I listened back and I just want to let everybody know that I am aware and have been aware the whole time that Invincible was a Philadelphia thing. And everything else we discussed was a New York thing. And that is a big, I have to mention that. It's very different. But what made them similar, the two things, was that they were both like mid-70s, maybe early 80s when that Vince Papali thing was going on.
I think it was late 70s.
Right? Maybe 80 when, wasn't that Dick Vermeil? Was it 1980?
Yes, that was the 80 team, yes.
Right. Regardless, inner cities were depressed places. That's what I was getting at. That I watched a lot of shows about inner cities, East Coast inner cities, that were depressed places. That also happened to spawn many fantastic and wonderful things from their depression. People coming up with cool stuff because they're sad.
You know what else was in Philadelphia?
Rocky.
Well, yes. Trading Places.
Trading Places was in Philly, huh?
Yep. Watching just the other day.
Then they took the
train.
What tipped you off? That it was Philly. They did take the train.
They took the train to the stock exchange in New York to go get even with the Dukes. And on the train was, who's the gorilla?
Beaks.
Yeah. Do you know who the gorilla was?
Jim Belushi.
Jim Belushi. Very good.
Keep coming at me. You got more?
That's enough for now.
All right. Yeah. That's exactly right. I was going to say, you ready to do Trading Places trivia? I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That your limousine.
Karate Man hurt on the inside.
That's right.
have legs. I can see. I have legs. It's a miracle.
Yep, there you go. But
man,
that part was Philadelphia.
Sam Bam and Wang Bang. I was all over that place. Eddie. That was Eddie when he was at the top, the pinnacle of Eddie.
I mean, I believe that was
Who's
the first.
putting out the cools on my rug?
Hey, my friends.
There was a little. He flipped up to become a rich dude immediately. And the bet, how much was the bet?
$1.
$1. $1. And how about Winthorpe? His descent into disgust.
Yep.
The worst part of the whole thing was when he eats the salmon through the Santa beard.
The locks.
That was so horrible. Winthorpe. Oh, Winthorpe. And his fancy. See, I love movies like that. Here we go again. Ready? Let me finish driving home the point. I am aware that Invincible was in Philadelphia. And my apologies for not making that more clear.
There you go.
But I also think about, like we could take those movies. It's Hollywood, but those movies were supposed to be depictions of things that people felt were real or were close enough to real that people would buy them as real, right? So the people in Trading Places, the Winthorpes, the Dukes, those people, they were some rich dudes, man. That was like something. And you know what else? Like Arthur. Remember Arthur? Well, because, income and everyone's talking about like all different, economic strata that we have now and what percent are you in and all of that. And I think about like Arthur, which I think was a fantastic New York movie as well. Arthur Bach, I believe it was $760 million or something, was the total value of the whole Bach empire. And now, the guy who is the owner of the Clippers, what's his name? Microsoft man?
Ballmer.
Is it?
Steve Ballmer.
Yeah. He's worth like $38 billion.
I don't know if it's that many, but yes, he's worth a few billion, yes. Enough that he was able to pay 2 or 3 for a crappy basketball team.
Tens of billions.
Yes, absolutely.
It's amazing. It's amazing stuff.
Well, Brewster's Millions was a $30 million, and then if he went through that, he was going to get $300 million.
If I could have them remade, because everyone, nobody understands. We've lost track of what it means to have what money is. We've kind of lost track.
Well, at this point, it wouldn't be $300 million. It'd be like $3 billion that he would inherit.
Well, that's exactly right. When Brewster's Millions, the movie with Richard Pryor and John Candy, it was a fantastic movie. It was very funny. It was great. But it's a lesson movie. It's one of those movies where lessons. A lot of people hate that. Don't preach at me. I'll learn my own lessons. I don't need some movie to tell me. But Richard Montgomery Brewster, Richard Pryor, it's a fantastic movie. They should remake it. They're remaking all these other garbage movies. That and Cannonball Run, which now apparently Cannonball Run is finally being remade after me screaming on the air about it for 20 years. It is now being remade. Burt Reynolds, may he rest in peace. But Brewster's Millions needs to be remade. He finds out he inherits $30 million, but he's got to spend every single dime of it in 30 days and have nothing left except for the shirt on his back. And if he's not allowed to tell anybody, and if he does, he inherits an unbelievable future sum of $300 million. An unbelievable sum of $300 million. It's like when Dr. Evil came out, and he's like, $1 million. And everyone's like, what a big deal. $1 million. You can't even live for the rest of your life on $1 million anymore. Remember that? You could live for the rest of your life. Like, no problem. You had $1 million, you was rich.
Yep.
How things change. Is it better? Is it better this way?
Oh, I don't know about all that, but I'll take the $1 million.
I will take the $1 million also. I would love $1 million. I would figure out how to make it last a long time. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you be able to make $1 million last at least 10 years?
I'd like to think that if I had $1 million in one lump sum, I would be set for the rest of my miserable existence, whatever is left.
Man. Well, that's exactly. It probably wouldn't be very long. It probably wouldn't be very long. I'm struggling to find the location of the fantasy results. I don't know why.
Well, there's some right on the WFO.
I want to get to last week's
page.
stuff. Where's the numbers?
What you mean last week's stuff?
The race from last week.
Like this race that just happened yesterday?
Yeah.
Well, you would have to go to...
Yeah, where?
Well, go to like the WFO League.
Weekly player picks, that's what I'm looking for.
There you go, weekly player picks.
That's what
now, like I said, you could also go to the front page of WFO and just click on Patrick's great WFO Fantasy NASCAR League results.
Oh, Patrick has updated that.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick does that every week for us.
Does he?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's tremendous. Listen, I don't care if Patrick ever does anything ever again. He saved the day.
Who won.
Yeah,
Bob
Smith.
No. Oh, yes.
Vegas rules. 343.
No, you idiot. It's Bob.
So silly. Vegas rules had Brad Kay, had Ryan Blaney, had Paul Menard, had Regan Smith. That's the winning combination, 343. Beer Reader Racing 81 is second. Millerman is third. Way to go, Millerman. You still out there, Millerman? What's up with that? Fourth, NHRA Nut. Fifth, Lowe's Jingones. Sixth, Geo in Miami.
Woo!
284 gets you sixth.
Hey.
Woodchuck, Uper 1.
Hey,
Black
Clint
Ice.
Boyer screwed me, man. I had a great team up.
And Spider Monkey, Gary Corbett, who was did a great job on the show.
What up, Gary?
You send out a push notification to hear Gary Corbett. You got to write Grammy Award winner.
Rock on.
What's Gary Corbett's last name?
Corbett.
What is his middle name?
Gary.
What is his first name?
Grammy Award winner.
Let's keep that in mind the next time you send out a push notification about Grammy Award winner Gary Corbett.
Okay.
Yeah. Miss Little Low 11th. Back-to-back strong weeks, Miss Little Low.
Oh, man, she's going to dust you.
Yeah, no. And then I'm just skipping. I just want to go down to see where I am. WFO Joe, 21st. Woo!
Hey, that's not terrible for you. That's actually very good.
Could have been worse. I dropped positions, though.
Well, with half of the chase field, the playoff field finishing 20th and on back.
And I went in and I actually set a team this week.
It's no wonder that
Kyle Larson.
That 280 gets you like fifth place.
By the way, I had Kyle Larson. I had Austin Dillon. He did okay. I had Jamie McMurray, 35th in the crash, and I had Matt
That'll
Benedetto.
do it right there. McMurray's what got you.
That's it. McMurray got me.
Benedetto for a C driver is decent.
24th.
If you would have had Ryan Newman, you would have been okay. Or even, you had Austin Dillon. Even Clint Boyer came in 23 or 24, so that would have helped you too.
Yeah, I know, McMurray.
One of those things, man.
That's it. Fantasy racing is hard. It is hard. That's the thing.
Well, how does a guy like Hamlin feel who was running top 10 all day, and then when it mattered most, he just kind of lost it and car got all ugly in the grass?
I doubt he feels nearly as bad as I. All right. Here is the overall. The lead back in the hands of Lowe's Chingones solo. It is now a thing.
Oh, Bobby Graham dropped.
The Bug Barn has fallen all the way back to third. Craig and Newhall is 45 points behind Lowe's Chingones. And
now, to be fair, Bobby and Lowe both tied for the regular season trophy, which gets you nothing.
Yeah, no, it gets you nothing. Gets you nothing. Lowe's Chingones lead. Craig and Newhall second. Bug Barn third. 85 Racing. I'm confused.
Huh?
I'm confused. Something is not right. When I'm looking at it, says Lowe's Chingones first, Craig and Newhall second, Bug Barn third, 85 Racing eighth, Aviator Racing ninth, Geo in Miami fifth.
Okay, I think that's just a numerical anomaly.
Rank. Called you a rank. It says rank. I am confused. But I'm going to just keep on going. No, man. No, it's in order. It's strange. 85 Racing, followed by Aviator Racing, Geo in Miami, you per one.
Yeah, I'm sixth. I think that there's just a discrepancy with the numbers on the left-hand column, but they are correct there as the running order. It's just that the numbers on the left-hand column are out of whack.
Okay, but why? This the mistake of the
guy
website?
made a mistake, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you want to say...
You know, the guy runs his own site, and he goes through all those troubles, and, you know, sometimes there's little issues.
Oh, no, look, I refreshed it.
And? It works better now?
No, it's still all messed up.
Yeah, no, mine works now. Tied for 7th, Woodchuck and Uper? Yeah.
Okay, here's what it is.
What is that? Explain it to me, man.
Full season.
Right.
It's all messed up. Because when you go to playoffs, I think it's accurate. No, that's not it either.
No, the playoffs is just this past week.
I'm just giving up.
But at the same time, I do think that we had just discussed where for the week I came in. Did you say I came in 6th? I thought you said 8th. So I wouldn't be. Let's see. Yeah, maybe there's some kind of mistake there. But if you go to the WFO page.
What is this nonsense?
I believe that the order is actually accurate. Where Lowe's is number 1. Craig is 2nd, 45 points behind. Then the Bug Barn is 3rd.
The Bug Barn.
And then there's a huge gap between Bobby at 86 back and 85 Racing now is 205 points back. I do notice that Mr. Fantasy NASCAR has taken a plunge.
Well, let's get into it. Exactly. Lowe's Gincones, Craig and Newhall, Bug Barn, 85 Racing, Aviator Racing, Geo in Miami, Uper 1, Beer Eater Racing 81, Miller Man, and Mr. Fantasy NASCAR. I believe that is close to the top 10. 279 points out. Yes, he had a nightmare of a day, just like everybody. That's what it is. He got destroyed and has fallen into the clutches now of some of our better players.
Well, when you have guys like Harvick and Jones and all those front runners that...
They're going to rip the flesh.
Yep. Just like that.
He's falling back. He was up at the top, and now he's sliding back. Chad Robb, Hall of Famer. Who's going to get after him next? Black Falcons is. And who's going to get after him next? Smothered and Covered, former champion. And that's it. All of a sudden, the WFO League. These great players that we have created over the years.
No, but there is a battle there at the top. I see it.
Day Racing 21, Highline Real Fine, Elephant Racers now on back. No particular order because who knows what number they are. I Can See Our Almirola is just behind Bulls Wool and ahead of Beats 41. Mrs. Black Ice ahead of Patrick the Webmaster. Behind Easy E009 and Stubo.
Stubo's 25th.
Stubo is 25th?
Yeah. That's very good job by you.
It says 27th here. But whatever. Hockey Kid is behind Pat.
Just behind Pat, ahead of
Dirty Hippies is way down there, but ahead of Gary Corbett. And behind a Driving Hard, Miss Little Low.
But Gary Corbett's been making a dash towards the front. I felt like if he was in the 50s hanging out with you just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he was. Miss Little Low and Gary Corbett up 12 positions and 10 positions, respectively. Moneyman's up 4 positions. WFO Joe, up 5 positions. That's right.
You must be looking at the weekly thing. I got you at 52nd in the overall.
It says plus 5.
67.39 total points.
67.39. 850 behind. It says up 5 positions.
Well.
And it says I'm 49th. But Fleetree is displayed in front of me with 67.40 points.
So he's got 1 more point than you.
Why is he displayed in front of me?
He should be in front. He's in front. He's got 1 more point.
But why is he listed as 50th?
Because you're 52nd. That's what I'm telling you.
No, but it says I'm 49.
Look, I'm not interested in what the numbers on the left that are already. We've definitely determined that they're incorrect right now.
Oh, I passed Team Gray.
Oh, yeah. No. The poor Gray. Had a horrible week. Let me scroll down and tell you his team. He was killing it for a little while.
I can't wait to text him. I can't wait to text him.
Yeah, you should leave him alone.
I'm going to send him a video for you to play on his way into school.
He had Harvick, Chase Elliott, and Eric Jones.
Oh, wow. There it is.
36th, 39th, and 40th. Poor guy. And by the way, all 3 of those guys were running top 5 when they wrecked.
Wow. Yeah, well, it was a brutal race. It was a crash fest. We said it over and over again. All right, there you go. There's your Fantasy League results. My apology for not really being able to read it and not understanding what I'm looking at. I can't really tell you why. It's just a bizarre thing. And, when you cold read numbers on the air, sometimes it turns out real bad. And that was one of those times. Bottom line, though, Lowe's Jim Cohns is trying really hard to get his name on that trophy.
Well, he always is.
He has had, I think, 3 years of top 3 performances. Is that accurate? 2 years?
Definitely 2. I think last year he had a bad year. 2 previous years it was.
Wasn't last year the year that you and
No, I think that was the year before that he and I were battling.
Wow. Interesting stuff.
I mean, you can't judge by what I remember. I have a very good memory. It's just very short.
Is that what it is?
What?
That it's short? Your memory is short, or you don't remember short things?
Whatever.
Exactly. You don't even know.
Exactly.
All right, now it's time to jump into Formula One. What? Dirty Hippie Fantasy Tippy, a little early in the week. You want to do your thing, or we'll catch up with Rich later on in the week?
We'll see if Rich joins the show for the rebroadcast like he did last week.
Yes, that was very slick of you.
Hey, the hippie got the call in there at the last minute.
I like it.
Thank you, Rich. We always appreciate that.
Yeah, Rich is fantastic. All right, here are the results from the 2018 Singapore Airlines
Stay dry, Rich.
Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton gets the win, 25 points, followed by Max Verstappen and Seb Vettel. Vettel ended up third. Ferrari tried an aggressive strategy, did not work. They tried ultra-soft tires. They pitted early. They did a bunch of stuff.
They blew the whole thing in qualifying when they tried to do their tire strategy, and then they weren't fast enough and almost got relegated, and then had to come in quickly and change the tires and throw a lap. And Lewis is, Ferrari continuously blowing the strategy and epic failure, and Lewis just wins. That's it. Lewis has just become cool, calm, and relaxed, and just goes out there and wins. That's it. And Ferrari can't get out of their own way.
I don't really understand why they would try some sort of strategy
play. They have a faster car now.
Yeah.
It's
maybe not on this track, though.
It's this decade-long of futility and incompetence that has got them even questioning themselves.
Bill from Kendall used to always tell me that the Germans and like the Ross Braun, when he was with Ferrari, with Michael Schumacher, that the icy German personality kept the hot Italian emotionalness in check, and that they didn't do things like what we might have seen the other day. And I can tell you, there's an emotional side in the Italians. They live life to the fullest and all. But why are we trying some sort of crazy aggressive strategy when we've already proven that we've got a car that can run with these guys the whole year long? And it didn't really matter so much. We finished on the podium, fine. Maybe this track isn't exactly suited to our best characteristics.
But even the whole strategy of, we're going to pit early and call, to make these guys change your strategy to adapt to our strategy. Well, it failed because Lewis got out there up front and first held up the pack so closely. And so when Ferrari pitted, they came out in the middle of the pack behind
Lewis
Perez.
On that safety car stopped the cars.
Right.
They were stopped. It's like, what's going on? He's stopping you. You got to stay up with him on that restart.
It's just everything. It just seems, to be honest with you, I don't know how the Sports Collision is going to go because my professional franchises this weekend was just terrible. One doing worse than the other.
Well, that's your problem. You should, you should be able to separate.
Starting with Ferrari.
Yeah, it was a tough day for Ferrari. Bottas fourth, fifth Kimi Räikkönen. Kimi will not be with Ferrari next year. That was not news at the time we convened last week. Kimi will leave Ferrari to go back to Sauber next year for 2 years. In sixth, it inspired Gio to tweet.
It did?
Yeah, you tweeted.
I did.
You remember that?
No, I don't.
Oh, my gosh. This is probably the problem. You tweeted that Kimi Räikkönen, you tweeted a video of Kimi, yelling at somebody saying that.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
They're like, is this going to inspire something? Like a real dumb question. And Kimi gave him a dumb answer. No, I'm going to go race there for 2 years and not try to win.
I think that was
something
exactly
like
something to that extent.
Are you going to try to win at Sauber? No. Daniel Ricciardo, 6th. Fernando Alonso, 7th. Carlos Sainz,
I believe
8th.
I said Kimi being Kimi was what I tweeted.
Charles Leclerc, 9th. And Nico Hulkenberg, 10th. No points for Haas F1 It's now time for the Haas F1 report. Yeah, no bueno. They were looking okay in qualifying. What the heck happened in the race other than Grosjean got a 5-second penalty for ignoring the, get out the way flag.
Get out of the way of the leader flags, which I am also against. I think that is part of the anti-Haas F1, anti-American contingency group, simply because Grosjean was racing against someone at that moment. And while I get it, maybe the back marker, so to speak. I mean, if you're in the top 10, you're not considered a back marker, mind you, even though in Formula 1, the top 6 have that much of a lead on the rest of the field. If you and I are racing for position and the leader comes up on us, you and I should not have to be forced to just turn aside and let the leader go. Like what happens to our race? This is still a race, and you and I are racing, and we're racing for a position. We should, that should be independent of what's going on with the leader.
Yeah, but then we crash and we take out the leader, and you would change your opinion.
Well, that was kind of close. That almost happened to Lewis, and at the moment that we would have been very excited had that happened. As it punched up the field.
We would have loved it. In the end, Grosjean got another penalty. He's got 2 points on his license. He's just, I think, a couple points away from having to skip a race. Getting a race penalty. All that is a little sketchy. So not the best day for Haas F1, unfortunately. But
no, but that was also a cause of that
Force India.
The Force India guys just turn one, causing a collision. Perez, I don't know what that guy's thinking, because later on he caused another collision. And just who did he take out at that point? That he just thought he was playing NASCAR and essentially bumped cars, and that's when he took himself out of the race.
Well, the bump with Esteban Ocon, the teammate.
Yeah, no, that was terrible.
That was Ocon was out there in no man's land, but
maybe Ocon put the car where it shouldn't be, but for his teammate to take him out again in the first lap, and it by the way, there's been a safety car every single Singapore Grand Prix.
And there always will, the way that track is.
Yeah.
But in the end, Lewis Hamilton, what can you say?
Just too much Lewis right now. I'd say with that 40-point lead, it's almost insurmountable at the way things are going.
Well, you're going to need luck. Something weird is going to have to happen to him, and you're going to have to take advantage and win that race. And, and then you need more help. 452 Mercedes, 415 for Ferrari. In the constructors. Constructors is still a possibility. Red Bull third, 274. Then Renault 91. Haas is fifth. So Renault's kind of pulling away after that protest they did, that Mickey Mouse stuff. Bush League psych-out stuff. McLaren, Renault, Force India, Toro Rosso, Sauber, Williams. Well, poor Williams. At the bottom. They've got 7 points all year. It's a waste of everybody's time. Close the garage. I remember that Jack Roush, they asked Jack Roush about what they should do with the Jaguar program. What should they do with the Jaguar Formula One program? He's like, close the garage. Simple as that. Simple as that. All right. You want to, I guess let's just go right into SportsCollision. I was going to say we could take another break, but no, we don't need to do that. Let's go right into SportsCollision. Is there any other motorsports who want to pay tribute to Scott Dixon and Chip?
Well, yeah, but there's something to say about that. I mean, 5 championships. I mean, I believe that's some kind of...
08, 13, 15, and 18. And what I like the best about Scott Dixon's championships are that they are very nice and evenly spaced out. 03 to 08, 08 to 13, 13, 15, and 18. That is a nice career. That shows... no period of futility, right? Whereas most champions, they win 2 and then go through a dry spell and then maybe win 1. Jeff Gordon won some championships early, won a mid-championship, then down the stretch, no championships. That's why we were hoping for that one, the last one, to bookend the career. Would have been tremendous. Scott Dixon has been just steady Eddie. Championship, every couple year, championships. 5 championships, unreal. Ryan Hunter-Reay won the race, and Alexander Rossi just made a mistake on the opening lap and ruined it.
I mean, Hunter-Reay led every lap. He didn't just win the race.
Yeah, well, it was total domination.
Yeah.
And Sonoma is a much better IndyCar track than it is a NASCAR track. That place, the elevation change, and having been there just a few weeks ago, and I was driving the S's, and I was seeing the line, just like they saw the line. And I was watching the IndyCar feeling like I could drive one of these things. Because when I was taking the line on a golf cart, I was saying to myself, man, this is exactly how it would be in an IndyCar, except a million times slower. But I was still trying to hit the lines at the same point. It was pretty cool. All right. Oh, what about Charles Leclerc? We got to mention him. Next year's Ferrari driver. And I think we both are in complete agreement that we are underwhelmed, at least initially.
It doesn't make my toes tingle. Now, mind you, this guy was, supposedly sliced bread coming up through the ranks. Didn't he win an F2 championship, I believe? And he's, I guess if he comes on and he's anywhere near as good as he tells us he is, because he says,
well, we're going to find out
that he's there to win championships and compete with, not to be second fiddle to anyone.
Yeah, he's going to race against Vettel.
So we are going to find out.
And Vettel is at the worst point in his career right now. Everybody is questioning Vettel. In fact, last week after the show was over, Gio and I talked about how we trashed Vettel, and we wanted to get evidence to make sure that we were right. And we went and found a couple of very detailed commentaries from international media, because you may not realize, not everybody does, but this stuff is very serious overseas. Like, they go real deep on it, like maybe more deeply than we cover any sport. And it might be because the entire world population, one or two of them are going to be very serious about this stuff. But anyway, what the author had done, and he was from the UK, he listed every single Sebastian Vettel mistake going back like 3 years, and listed everything that happened to lead up to it, what should have happened, what did happen, and what Lewis Hamilton was doing while it happened.
What the are we doing here?
And it was a total indictment on Vettel. You cannot make the argument. Yes, Vettel is a four-time champion and he's won many Grand Prix, but it's really hard to go against the facts this guy set up. In this race and at this race and at this race, and here's one, and what was happening, and the pressure was on, and he crashed. It was brutal. And so now this week, Vettel is under pressure. People need to realize that. Now, I'm going to continue to support the guy, but he's under extreme pressure right now from the Tifosi, from the media. Remember a few weeks ago he said, I have other stuff in my life other than Formula One? Nobody likes to hear that. And so now this Charles Leclerc, some kid, comes in and he's like, I'm going to race him.
Well, let's see what happens if Leclerc comes in and he's like Ricciardo when he came to Red Bull and
whoops Vettel. We're going to love this
Vettel,
guy.
Then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's such a weird dynamic. The Formula One dynamic is so strange, everybody, in that where you're rooting for a team, not a driver. It makes it very different. Like Paulie the White Guy hating Ryan Tannehill. Like with blood hatred. It's like you're not supposed to hate an athlete like that much. You're not supposed to. Especially one who has done just, nothing. He's just trying his best. And at that point, let's get into everyone's favorite show within a show, the Sports Collision.
Well, a quick segue right back into what we were discussing. There was a positive note for Haas F1 in this game, in this race, which was Magnussen, while finishing way in the back, did have the fastest lap of the day.
Hey, there you go. Wow.
That's still something.
Thank you.
Especially that's something that's very, looked upon in a very highly fashion. But anyway. Sports Collision. Where do we start?
Yeah, this is
I'm so depressed. Baseball's got me depressed. The Yankees are... how in the world can I say it, but how can one be disappointed in a team that's got 91 victories so far with about, 16 games left to play?
Yeah.
I mean, they could realistically win 100 games, and it's still a disappointing season. It's got to be because of these horrible losses that we have suffered at the hands of these terrible teams, like this weekend against Toronto, like coming to Miami and splitting with the Marlins, like splitting with the Marlins in New York, like loss after loss to a horrific team like the Baltimore Orioles. And it's just, I can't. There's not enough or anything else that I could just say about that. Other than it's disappointing. Let's see what happens. Let's ride this thing out. But the way things are, I genuinely don't have faith that this team's going to do much of anything.
Wow. You're just like...
Ever since the judge went down, this team and everything has just been completely... It's gone awry.
Yeah, but Judge and Chapman are playing sim games now, and they're hopefully going to be back in time for the playoffs.
Well, like I said, let's see. But this past weekend was just terrible. I was like a race car in the red, ready to explode and put an apex seal out the exhaust.
Yep. Wow. Giovanni.
Yep. Other than that, baseball is over. Playoffs starting soon. Season coming to an end. And, of course, everybody's been watching, the 900-pound gorilla that came on the scene a couple weeks ago, the NFL. We saw Aaron Rodgers do Aaron Rodgers stuff week 1 and go out there and gimp a miracle on Sunday Night Football. Well, this weekend we had another thing that I don't ever recall seeing. First of all, I don't ever recall seeing a tie in week 1, but now we've got back-to-back ties.
Huh.
Tie in week 1 and a tie yesterday in Minnesota.
And why are we seeing
Green
all
Bay?
these ties? What's the story?
Well, I have no idea.
Is there a rules change or something?
No, there's no rule change. I'm just against the tie. There's crappy kickers all over the league, apparently, because in that Minnesota Green Bay game, the kicker got cut today as he missed 3 field goals that could have potentially won them the game. We saw Cleveland cut their kicker after he missed a bunch of field goals that could have beat them against the Steelers last week, and once again was the downfall of their loss to the Saints this week. And in very Cleveland-like fashion, they cut Josh Gordon yesterday or today or what have you. And, of course, guess where he's going?
New England.
Of course. And watch him just be all-world in New England, just like everything else that they touch that happens to turn to gold.
Wow.
But, yeah, the Yankees, like I said, were disappointing.
What about
my professional football teams have been disappointing. Those of you that listen to the show closely know that I have a rooting interest for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They performed terribly yesterday. They got their butts kicked up and down the field by the Kansas City Chiefs and their record-setting quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who is the son of a former baseball player, Pat Mahomes. And the kid's thrown 10 touchdown passes in 2 weeks. That's some kind of record, apparently. And the Chiefs kicked the Steelers' butt.
What about Vontae Davis, man? You're not talking about this guy?
I'm not there yet, man. I'm working my way around to the teams that I have.
And you didn't talk about
for.
Yankees-Red Sox tomorrow. 1:05 start.
Yeah, I have no idea why that game starts so early tomorrow. Is it like some kind of special day?
We
or
got
something?
a chance to throw them a beating. That's good.
But what good? So we win 3 straight games from them and what?
And throw them a beating.
We're okay, I guess, if you say so. At this point.
Yeah.
This has got to be the most disappointing 90-win season I've ever been a part of.
Get in their heads.
Yeah, that's great. Nonetheless, and the G-men, how terrible are they? And yes, while this running back they drafted number 2 overall appears to be all-world, what a big boneheaded play in this era to draft a running back 2nd overall when there was 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round. But it's okay. Fear not, Giants fans, as you'll probably be picking in the top 5 again next year. But guess what? There's no highly rated quarterbacks coming out next year because... whatever. It feels like what the Dolphins have done our whole entire lifetime. That when they had...
Not us, man. We're talking Super Bowl over here.
Exactly right. When they had a super high draft pick, the number 2 overall, they went and drafted Ronnie Brown because they thought that their quarterback, Jay Fiedler, was going to be all-world. And we don't need a guy like Aaron Rodgers. We'll just let that guy fall to whomever takes him in the 20th pick or whatever.
Really? We took Ronnie Brown instead of Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. And then when they had the number 1 overall pick, and there's a guy like Matt Ryan, who, mind you, is clearly not Aaron Rodgers type, but more than competent franchise quarterback, has proven, he wasn't good enough for the Dolphins. They want the big jumbo offensive lineman because this is 3 yards in a cloud of dust league.
Yeah, and when he wants to get paid, they don't even pay him.
He got injured. To be fair, the guy was very good for about 4 years, but then he got injured and they had to cut him loose. And he got loose.
SportsCollision.
But yes, we can now segue back to Vontae Davis, by the way, a former Dolphin.
Yep.
Who was not so glamorously told on Hard Knocks that he was going to be traded and had that whole incident with Ireland on Hard Knocks.
Yes.
Well, apparently yesterday he had enough. The guy's been injured, and I'll give him, whatever due. He decided to call it a career and quit because he was getting burned up and down the field and thought that he just couldn't take it anymore. Except he did that at halftime of the game.
And he got dressed and he left the stadium. He went home.
That's pretty much.
It blows my mind a little bit, but then at the same time, the whole thing, it's you can't do that.
No, look,
for him to realize, like, while on the field, I shouldn't be here. I'm gonna get hurt. I stink. I'm embarrassing myself, and not want to go back out on the field. Like, I'm over this. Like, this is not where I need to be, and just give up and quit. I can't really relate to it, but I can kind of understand how it happens to somebody, right?
Somewhat, but it's just you can't go about it the way he did.
But to go into the locker room and just leave, that what it shows is like a real, like the team concept is not really a real concept with him.
Well, I'm sure that's what bothered his teammates the most.
Like, what do you mean you're going to leave? Just tell the coach, I can't play the second half. My head is all messed up. I'm not in the game.
Not even just go out there and tell the coach, you know what, man? I have been hurt, and I thought I could come back, but I just don't have it.
Yeah.
You can't put me back out there.
Yeah.
You're
going to lose. You're going to get beaten.
Away in the middle of a game.
No.
Because especially if you've gone through this whole thing of, this isn't just the sports and the NFL more than any other sport. It's not like a regular job that you just decide to get up and, I was sick last week, but I'm going to go back to work today. Right. No, like, there's a whole preparation and a mentality of getting yourself physically ready to come back into this grind. And if he went through all that in the offseason, how do you just quit in the middle? That is what I don't understand. Like, really, have some sort of professionalism and just go in there and tell the coach, I'm getting killed. I physically don't have it anymore. I'm done. I'll give you what I got to the end of this game, but it's over. That's it. I'm out.
Right. Simple as that.
Yeah, I just, I feel bad for the guy. Again, by the way, walked away from a nice chunk of money that he's going to have to pay back because it was mostly through a signing bonus. So.
Interesting. Well, there you go. Christian Yelich hitting for the cycle twice in one season. Why is that not part of Sports Collision?
Because to me, that's a gimmick. I'm not into hitting for the cycle.
It's never happened in Major League Baseball history.
Okay.
That's pretty...
What, did he just happen to do that tonight? Is that, like, live as we're going? Is that why?
Yeah, man, I'm a breaking news guy. That's what I do. I break news. Milwaukee Brewers outfielder Christian Yelich on Monday night became the first player in Major League history to hit for the cycle against the same team twice in one season.
That's pretty impressive. Former Martin, another Miami connection.
Yeah,
because there's always a Miami connection.
There you go. I don't know what we got for him. We got something, right?
Yeah, Lewis Brinson.
There you go. Is that it for Sports Collision?
Yeah, that's it for Sports Collision. Stay on the lookout. Next week, NASCAR goes to Richmond Saturday night. And F1 will be in Russia in a couple of weeks. They got the coming week off. But they will continue to wind down their season. As you know, IndyCar is over. Dixon wins his 5th championship. That is a lot of championships, by the way.
I know, it's incredible. All right, I got a piece of news. This is breaking news, okay? And yes, Cup Series will be in Richmond. It'll be interesting. NHRA is in St. Louis. I can tell you I am scheduled to go to St. Louis, and I am planning to go to St. Louis, and I hope to see you there.
We hope so, too.
That will be wonderful. But this is breaking SpaceX news. This just came out, 9:41 p.m. Eastern time. SpaceX will send Japanese billionaire Yusaku Maezawa to the moon. He is going to be the first passenger to travel on the SpaceX. This evening, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk revealed that Yusaku Maezawa, a Japanese billionaire, founder of ZozoTown.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I don't know what that is. It's Japan's largest online clothing retailer, ZozoTown. will be the first private customer to ride around the moon on the company's future massive rocket, the Big Falcon rocket, BFR.
The BFR, the Big Rocket.
Mizawa plans to fly on the trip as early as 2023. He wants to take artists with him to turn the entire ride into an art project called #Dear Moon. A website for the mission went live after the announcement. Finally, I can tell you that I choose to go to the moon. I choose to go to the moon with artists. Mizawa said to announce his trip at a SpaceX event, which is also an homage to John F. Kennedy.
Good night, Moon.
We choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Mizawa, who is 42 and also a billionaire, reportedly is worth $2.9 billion.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, come on, man.
That's chump change for
really?
Ballmer.
That's nothing.
That's what he spent on his basketball team.
What is this guy? $2.9 billion. Thinks he's going to go to the moon.
Well, he is. Well,
if you don't have, nowadays, if you don't have at least $10 billion, you're not really rich. Things are different now, man. Things are different now. If you got a couple of $100 million, you should feel ashamed of yourself. You're not pulling your weight.
You're just a beggar.
You are. You are. Clearly what I'm doing is humor. But you go find the person. Listen, there's studies. There's stories about it. You got anyway, I'm going to keep on moving. This guy's going to the moon, man. Think about it. According to Forbes, he's an avid art collector. He spent $110.5 million on a 1982 painting by someone.
That's no moon.
As an artist, he wants to invite other artists to come along with him for his ride. Mizawa says he has bought all the seats on the BFR and will be looking for others to join him on a week-long mission around the moon. How long does this all take to go to the moon? I would like to invite 6 to 8 artists from around the world to join me on a mission to the moon. These artists will be asked to create something after they return to Earth, and these masterpieces will inspire the dreamer within all of us, Mizawa says. He hasn't decided which artists he'd like to invite. Maybe I should become an artist. Do I want to go to the moon with the guy who made Zozo Town? I don't think so.
Yeah, unfortunately, that trip sounds a little too far for me. I draw the limit at flying to the West Coast.
He will like them to represent many different fields, such as painters, musicians, film directors, and more, perhaps podcasters. Mizawa says he was inspired by imagining what his favorite artists would have created if they had traveled to space. What if Picasso had gone to the moon? Or Andy Warhol? Or Michael Jackson or John Lennon? What about Coco Chanel? These are all artists that I adore. Musk said that Mizawa actually came to SpaceX with the idea to do this flight. The billionaire declined to say how much he paid for the flight, but the trip will be free for the artists who go with him.
Well, someone's already covered their fare because the guy charted out the whole BFR.
Musk also noted that the down payment Mizawa made was significant enough that it will have a material effect on paying for the cost and development of the BFR. It makes a difference, Musk said. He put his money where his mouth is. He's legit. Musk also estimated that development costs for the BFR will be roughly $5 billion.
Oh, that's it?
That's it?
So that's more than the guy's got. Guy's only got 2.9.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, why is this guy even trying to perpetrate this on us?
Guy's a schlep.
If you don't have at least $10 billion, you can't play in this game anymore. This isn't the first time that SpaceX has it. Now, can you look up rich people and find out who's got what? There's always a list. This isn't the first time SpaceX has announced plans to send a paying customer to the moon on one of its vehicles. In February 2017, Musk proclaimed that 2 individuals had put a significant deposit down to fly around the moon on SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket, a larger version of the Falcon 9. No details about the passengers were given, though Musk said it was nobody from Hollywood. The flight was slated to occur before the end of this year. However, SpaceX ultimately decided to scrap the Falcon Heavy mission, and instead they're going to go on to BFR. Maybe the funding fell through. Anyway, story developing. You're getting some breaking news right there, folks.
All right,
breaking
you want to go
news.
over the top whatever.
Let's talk
billionaires.
real rich people, okay?
Okay, according to Forbes, which, is
When I
supposed
just
to be
so you know,
the authority on this.
when I was growing up, I don't think there were any billionaires.
Do we know that? I don't know about that, but we'll leave it at that. Right, according to the Forbes 2018 ranking, taken in the first quarter of this year.
Yes.
Jeff Bezos of Amazon fame is the world's richest person. 112 billion is his net worth. That is 112 billion with a B.
Okay.
Second place is Bill Gates, obviously of Microsoft fame. He's worth $90 million. Third is Warren Buffett. We all know him, famous investor from Berkshire Hathaway.
Yes.
He's worth 84. Fourth place, here we go, first non-American on the list, Bernard Arnault, Arnault.
Who's that?
Worth $72 billion. He is from LVMH. LVMH. I am unaware of what that is, and that is a multinational conglomerate company. Oh, Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton.
Ah.
The French multinational luxury goods conglomerate. So there you go, Bernard Arnault. Fifth, I think you know this guy, Mark Zuckerberg.
Heard of him.
71 billion, Facebook fame. Youngest on the list, by the way, at 34 years old. Next is Amancio Ortega from Spain. 70 billion, owns Zara, Z-A-R-A. And for those of you that don't know what Zara is, it's another retail fashion company from Europe. Spain specifically.
Wow.
They have branches everywhere, kind of like saying, it's a big name, kind of like saying Ferrari. What was that? That was sixth. Ortega, 70 billion. Seven, Carlos Slim. We all know him.
Yep.
Mexican Telecom, 67 billion.
Among other things.
Tied for eighth, Charles and David Koch. Koch Industries worth 60 billion each. So together they are the world's richest person.
Interesting.
Yeah. 10th, Larry Ellison. Software magnate. I believe the name of his company is
Oracle?
Oracle. Very good. Thank you. He's worth 58 bill. 11, Michael Bloomberg. Bloomberg and Associates.
Bloomberg.
Yeah, former mayor of New York City. Worth 50 bill. He's 11th on the list. 12th is Larry Page. Also software, Google, I believe.
I used to write software like Larry Page.
Right. And 13th, Sergey Brin, who's also co-founder of Google, worth 47 bill. And then we come across I guess would be considered the richest family, the Waltons. You know who they are, right?
Yes.
The Walmart children, Jim, Rob, and Alice. They're worth about 46 billion each.
And how many are there?
3.
Oh, okay.
So 46 billion each. So
they're tied with the Koch brothers.
Yeah, I'd say they're right about there.
They're
actually,
family versus family.
Yeah, the richest families in America. And it goes on. We don't know the next one is Ma M.A. Huateng, Huateng, Internet Media from China. Francois Betancourt, from L'Oreal, obviously a woman, Frenchie. She's worth 42 bill. Mukesh Ambani, Indian petrol, oil and gas.
And so you're going down what, the 20 from 1 to 20?
And 20th is Jack Ma, M.A., another Chinese.
Yeah, he's the guy who does
39.
Alibaba.
There you go.
Jack Ma. Okay.
So that's the top 20. I mean, it keeps on. Adelson, Steve Ballmer. We know Phil Knight, 28. Nike, for those of you that don't know.
Well, you want to hear, while you were doing that, I decided to look up richest people in history.
Okay.
And MSN.com, their money section, has put together the top 20 richest people ever.
Well, let me guess. Rockefeller.
Well, I don't know. I'm starting at 20, and I'm going to go up.
All right, let's go.
And I saw some names that I think this is kind of interesting. Because, in the end, most people make less than $100,000. These are like historic individuals. If you get to the B's,
you're doing all right for yourself.
Yeah, you're doing good. Okay, Hessian. What is it? Number 20, Heshen, peak net worth $132 billion. No doubt the wealthiest government official in history. Hessian was born in 1750, was an administrator of the Qing dynasty, Qing with a Q, Qing dynasty, and a favorite of the emperor, which allowed him to get away with stealing tax revenues at an industrial scale. When he died in 1799, the corrupt official was found to have stockpiled a personal fortune of $132 billion in today's money.
Woo!
Hessian. Next, 19. Bill Gates, peak net worth $144 billion. Though Uber,
he's been giving it away.
Though Uber philanthropist Bill Gates is worth a relatively paltry $75 billion in 2016, although this still makes him the richest person in the world in 2016. So in 2016, $75 billion made Bill Gates the richest person in the world. In 2016,
got $90 billion today.
And now,
and he's second.
Just a couple of years later, he's almost double that?
No, he's only got 90. So he's got, 15 billion more.
The Microsoft founder's
20%.
Personal fortune hit $101 billion for a short time in 1999, adjusted for inflation. This brings his peak net worth up to $144 billion. 18. William de Warnay, the first Earl of Surrey, peak net worth $146 billion. His 11th century Norman nobleman was England's number one real estate mogul of his time, according to the Domesday Book Survey of 1086. He owned land in 13 English counties, including the prestigious Rape of Sussex, as well as manors and castles and a bunch of other places, equivalent to $146 billion in the year 1046. 17, John Jacob Astor, peak net worth $168 billion. America's first multimillionaire. The German-born merchant was the first prominent member of the Astor family.
Yeah, Waldorf Astoria.
He made his fortune trading in furs and built a powerful monopoly in the early 19th century, controlling the trade in the U.S. and Canada. At the time of his death in 1848, Astor was worth $20 million, around 107 of U.S. GDP, 107th of U.S. GDP, which translates to $168 billion in today's money.
Woo! Unbelievable.
Why can't we have monopolies anymore? We should go back to that. 16, Alan Rufus, First Lord of Richmond, peak net worth $195 billion. Medieval aristocrat, amassed a huge fortune during his lifetime thanks to the patronism of William the Conqueror. Later King William I. His ridiculously rich uncle and close companion, according to historian William Rubenstein, Rufus was worth $15,000 when he died in 1093, around 7% of England's GDP at the time, which is the equivalent of $195 billion in 2016. So this is obviously a story from 2016, but I'm going with it. Number 15, Henry Ford, peak net worth $200+ billion.
Sweet.
The founder of the hugely profitable Ford Motor Company revolutionized vehicle manufacturing and brought the car to the mass market, selling over 1 million vehicles in 1920. It's no surprise then that upon his death in 1947, Ford was worth the equivalent of $200 billion in today's money and then some. Wow. 14, Cornelius Vanderbilt. Peak net worth, $202 billion.
The Commodore.
Yes. Born in 1794 to a struggling family in Staten Island, Vanderbilt went from rags to riches during his lifetime, building a colossal fortune in the railroad and shipping industries, and giving much of it away later on in life. At his peak, Vanderbilt is thought to have been worth $202 billion in today's money. 13, Muammar Gaddafi. Peak net worth $212 billion. In 2011, Libyan officials estimated the disposed leader, Colonel Gaddafi, squirreled away $200 billion in secret bank accounts, shady investments, and dubious real estate deals during his dictatorship, stolen from the country's massive oil revenues. Adjusted for inflation, this is the equivalent of $212 billion. Won't see him no more. 2012, William the Conqueror, peak net worth, $228 billion. The first Norman ruler of England, who famously invaded the kingdom in 1066. William the Conqueror seized lands and plundered treasures from Sussex to Yorkshire that would be worth $228 billion in today's money. He spent his lavish riches on everything from tapestries to castles, including the iconic White Tower at the Tower of London. I want to be a conqueror. 11th, Jacob Fugger, peak net worth $277 billion, fittingly dubbed Jacob the Rich. This banker, merchant, and mining pioneer was Europe's richest man during the early 16th century. His enormous wealth enabled him to influence the politics of the time, funding the rise of the Holy Roman Emperor Maximilian I, as well as bankrolling the Spanish King Charles V. Jacob Fugger. I have never heard of him.
No.
Number 10, Osman Ali Khan, Asif Jah VII, peak net worth, $230 billion. The last ruler...
Is that like Genghis Khan?
Please stand by. The last ruler of Hyderabad in India. Khan was the absolute leader...
Oh, no, not Genghis Khan.
No, this is Indian.
It's Indian, yeah.
Yes. Of the princely state from 1911 to 1948, and for the good part of the 20th century, he was known as the richest man in the world with an estimated fortune of $2 billion by the early 40s. This is equivalent to 2% of the U.S. economy, or around $230 billion today. Number 9, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia. Peak net worth $300 billion. See what I'm saying? Now we're getting up there. Ill-fated Nicholas Romanov ruled over the Russian Empire from 1894 to 1917, during which he had full access to the nation's coffers, making him one of the richest monarchs in history. Not one to redistribute his wealth. A 1916 estimate of the Tsar's personal fortune equates to $300 billion in today's money. And they killed him.
I gotta say, I don't know if I would consider, guys like that were like rulers of a land that it wasn't actually their money.
No,
this was his. This guys like Bill Gates and all these other people who are actual.
Well, these are richest people in history, and you're getting in the way of a story with your laws and stuff. But this is his money. He just stole it from the people. He stole it from the people. Well, they say the richest person in the world right now, Forbes.
Bezos.
No, the richest person in the world, they say, is Vladimir Putin.
Well, again, but that's not technically his money. He's just like in control of the money. He's the puppet master.
He's got the money.
But it's not actually his.
No, it's his.
Wow.
When if I take $10 from you and then it's mine, then it's mine.
All right.
But I mean, I agree with you. I don't like him. Everybody knows. Listen,
it's not that I don't like the guy, but it's just that to me, it's not the same. Someone like that.
Well, number 8.
That is in control of, like a land and has, ruling with an iron fist.
And stealing profits from the land, from the people.
From the people. It's,
Why is that different?
To me, that's slightly different than
someone
it's
illegal?
Who's selling product and,
abiding by
amassing fortune through whether,
legal
whatever.
means.
Yes.
I totally agree with you. This is the most richest people in history, regardless. Number 8, Andrew Carnegie, or Carnegie. Peak net worth $337 billion. From humble beginnings in Scotland, Carnegie led the massive expansion of the U.S. steel industry in the late 19th century, amassing a personal fortune economists estimate to be worth $337 billion nowadays.
The man who built America.
A full-on philanthropist.
Not to be confused with Charlie Day.
Yes, thank you. Carnegie gave away 90% of his fortune to various charities and educational establishments during the last years of his life. That's fantastic. Number 7, the man who built America. This is it. John D. Rockefeller. Peak net worth $367 billion, more than Nicholas II, the Romanovs, man. America. These are our guys.
Woo!
Widely regarded as the richest American who ever lived, John D. Rockefeller founded the Standard Oil Company in 1870 and ended up controlling around 90% of the U.S. oil business.
Lamp oil.
Economist Peter, remember the gasoline. What are we going to do with this? Yeah. This is an unnecessary byproduct.
Waste.
Economist Peter
waste.
Burns, if you haven't seen The Men Who Built America, or listen to it on an audiobook on audible.com/WFO Ignition, which I don't even know if it's available. Peter Bernstein estimates that the industrialist turned philanthropist had a personal fortune of $367 billion in today's money. He's number 7. Number 6, Mansa Musa, the first of Mali.
Never heard of him either.
Nor have I. Peak net worth, $415 billion. Musa the First is easily one of the richest people in history, amassing the equivalent of $415 billion during his 25-year reign from 1312 to 1327. The king of Timbuktu and Malayan emperor, who controlled a huge empire which covered much of modern-day Mali and Ghana, had half of the world's supply of gold at his disposal, which was traded with merchants as far away as Venice, Genoa, and Egypt. Does he count because he's an old-school ruler just ruling a bunch of land?
Well, I was just telling you that I don't know if...
They didn't even know that the world was round at that time.
Well, some people still don't.
That's a real thing, by the way, folks. The flat earthers. 5th, King Solomon of Israel. Peak net... Say what? King Solomon of Israel.
Oh, he had those mines, King Solomon's mines.
Peak net worth, $2.2 trillion. According to the Bible, King Solomon ruled from 970 BC to 931. During this time, he is said to have received 25 tons of gold for each of the 39 years of his reign, which would be worth billions of dollars in 2016, along with impossible riches amassed from taxation and trade. The biblical ruler's personal fortune could have surpassed $2 trillion in today's money.
Talk about having more money than God.
I kind of feel like that's a little
That's some shady
bit
money
of a
too, by the way.
Shady money, yeah. We're talking King Solomon. Okay, number 4, Augustus Caesar. Peak net worth, $4.63 trillion. The first Roman emperor.
I was just about to say this guy presided over the Roman Empire.
Who ruled the vast empire from 27 BC until his death in 14 AD, which, by the way, how crazy. We think about Caesar. And like he's there, he's the guy when Jesus comes around. Like, isn't that amazing? Like, that's why. That's like the pinnacle of gotta be world history. Until now. Until us. Caesar boasted a personal fortune equivalent to 20% of the entire empire's economy, worth $4.63 trillion nowadays. At one point, Augustus even owned Egypt. It wasn't to last, however. Poor economic performance and a succession of military failures plagued in his final years. And something went down with Augustus where he was kind of, cut down.
Yeah, no way.
E2 Brutus. Okay, number 3, Akbar the First. Peak net worth, $21 trillion. Renowned for his lavish lifestyle and patronage of the arts, the emperor conquered hundreds of thousands of square miles of territory and ruled over much of the Indian subcontinent, known as the Mughal Empire, M-U-G-H-A-L, Mughal Empire. From 1556 until 1605, he controlled around 25% of the world's GDP at the time, which would translate to a staggering $21 trillion today. Akbar. Number 2, Emperor Shenzong of Song. Peak net worth, $30 trillion. Shenzong ruled China from 1067 to 1085 during the peaceful prosperity and primary abundance eras, when he controlled around 30% of global GDP, the equivalent of 30-plus trillion today. Adept at collecting taxes, the emperor's administration wasn't all take. However, its famous new policies, which helped improve the lives of the poor, are seen as a forerunner of the modern welfare state. There it is. He's the one to blame. And number 1.
Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. Peak net worth, hundreds of trillions of dollars. The fearsome Mongol leader conquered a mind-blowing 12 million square miles of land between 12 million square miles between 1206 and his death in 1227. More than anyone else in history. But while his hordes pillaged their way through huge swaths of Eurasia, what, hordes? The combined continental landmass of Europe. Yeah, man. Before you were angry that the Romanovs are just taking them. This is pure pillaging, man. This pillaging. Like we're just going to take it. The combined continental landmass of Europe and
Pirates
Asia.
of the Caribbean.
Yes, absolutely. Territory that is now worth trillions of dollars. Khan didn't actually hoard his spoils, choosing to redistribute the stolen loot and territory among his subjects instead. Genghis Khan. Nice guy.
Yeah.
There it is. And he is the number one richest guy in history, according to MSN Money, which I found this article in 2016.
Wow. Unbelievable. Incredible.
Yeah, that's it. And most people are worth like 80 grand.
Well, I think they might be worth a little bit more than that. That's just what they happen to make.
I don't know. With, total net worth and outstanding debts.
Yeah.
Outstanding debts. Anyway, I like doing stuff like that every once in a while.
Yeah, I know how to figure out net worth.
Yeah, the money you have versus the money that you owe.
That you owe, that's right.
That's how it works, Gio. You don't know about that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. You take all the money you owe and you subtract the money you make, and whatever is less, that's your worth.
Yeah, welcome to the party.
And if you're upside down, you're in trouble. All right, that's all I got. You got anything else?
My list is full.
All right, everybody. Hopefully you have a good time. I hope to see you in St. Louis. That would be nice. All right, now at the very, very tail end of the show where I feel like it's probably,
safe.
I didn't say that. I don't know what you're talking about. But I do want to say a big thank you to all the, people who expressed concern about my health. Like, why didn't I show up to the race guitar? Texted Brian Spink, and Brian Spink texted me, like, are you okay? Are you healthy? Is something wrong? Are you you're trapped in a pit somewhere? Do we need to send Lassie to help you? And no, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm good. Humbled by the response. Thank you very much. And like Kathy's tweeting out, a lot of people tweeting out wonderful, positive things. So thank you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then it's probably best we just move forward. Check the Twitter feeds of some WFO hardcores. But anyway, the plan is to go to St. Louis. NHRA Nitro later on in the week. Don't forget that poker tournament. Are you going to get in on the poker tournament, Gio?
I will probably not. I will probably be working at that time.
Yeah, it's also important to know how to play poker.
Yeah,
That's also an important thing about the poker tournament.
Well,
but hey,
man,
free. Cash money. It's out there. It's free. Maybe, maybe. Like, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with that? I take no responsibility.
When we were in radio, we used to say if it's free, it's for me. But now that we're on podcast, it's if it's free, I'll take 3.
Comedy. All right, that's it. Later, everybody. WFO.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
What the f*** are we doing here?
Yeah, welcome to the party. It's all good. I'm just glad we won. It's a lot less trouble than winning, it hurt.